Is a forlorn Blake Lively regretting her choices? And did Ryan Reynolds even read Justin Baldoni's complaints? Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and yet another response is in. This time it's a response to Justin Baldoni denying Ryan Reynolds' motion to dismiss. It just never ends. We're going to go through this and why I do think there might be some adjustments after speaking with Melcher, and also just why it's a complete waste of time, which these are. But before we get to the lawsuits, let's go to Blake Lively in this article in the Daily Mail, an exclusive today. Oh, forlorn Blake Lively breaks cover. Far from Hollywood as insiders reveal new private battle. Creeping regret over Justin Baldoni lawsuit. Oh, poor Blake. It must be so tough out there. Look at this forlorn. God, her outfits are the worst. Oh, this forlorn Blake Lively. She's really struggling here. She's really, really struggling in these two frames when everyone else is laughing around her, and clearly she is too. It's like, this is look at this guy howling in laughter. It must be so tough to be Blake Lively. They're at an equestrian farm in South Salem as their daughter competes in a horse show. So, she's really struggling. The relatable Blake Lively is so forlorn and struggling at a horse farm as her daughter competes in equestrian acts. Most people can afford to do that, right? To head off to horse farms for their daughters to compete in equestrian events. My God. I dislike this woman more and more as much as she goes out there. It's crazy because this whole article is trying to paint it as how difficult it is. Blake is striving for normalcy in her life, but the past few weeks have been incredibly challenging. It seems like every move she makes is now under constant criticism. You're just now realizing this after the Saturday Night Live thing, after the South by Southwest, after the stupid PR opportunity that was the donut shop. Oh, she now feels like her entire life has been turned upside down. Yeah, and it's your fault. You could have just moved on with your life and not sued Justin. You could have celebrated the win of that movie and just let it be an awkward moment in your time and later move on and figure out a way to actually help your PR. Instead, you've tripled, quadrupled. What's the one best? Quadrupled, quintupled? I don't know. You've done it so much, 9-tupled, 10-tupled yourself into the worst spot you could be. I don't understand why she isn't figuring out how to stop the bleeding like yesterday. It makes no sense. If Justin were willing, and if the rest of that team were willing, she should be figuring out whatever she can do to just shake hands and move on. Because you got to remember, it's not just Justin who's getting involved. And I have to believe some of these people, all of them, just want this to be over. And at a certain point, when this lawsuit when they get so heavy and you're in so the weeds, there is a point where you do just want to just wave the white flag and both parties agree, we're done. We're going to move on. Let each party do what they want to do. And obviously you can choose to support who you want to support, but I would not be surprised if it happens. But I am shocked that it hasn't happened yet. After the disastrous events, she's trying to pretend like there's nothing wrong. Clearly there is, but I don't see much damages because you're able to live your life the same way. Doesn't seem like you're losing much opportunities. You're still promoting your business that you claim failed. Nothing failed, Blake. And anything that did fail was due to your own actions. That is the reality. That is just clearer and clearer as more evidence piles up and time. That's what's happening here. But speaking of reality, I don't think Ryan Reynolds is in reality. This response to the motion to dismiss response is just reads like he doesn't even know what Justin put in his own complaints. It is incredibly frustrating to read this entire thing. There's a lot. I'll start with the intro and then I'll go through a few examples. The Wayfarer Party's opposition confirms the central thesis of Mr. Ryan's motion to dismiss. The FAC is meritless. List of grievances and hurt feelings designed to retaliate against Blake Lively for raising SH or retaliation claims. Keyword claims that he has every right to defend himself on. The opposition is riddled with fatal concessions. As if you haven't done that yourself in your own past interviews and everything else, but I digress. One example, despite the FAC's preposterous $400 million damages claim, the opposition concedes that the FAC is in fact alleges no actual monetary harm whatsoever, instead relying exclusively on defamation per se theory that even if it were valid, which it's not, fails to allege cognizable damages for any of the FAC's other claims. In addition, the opposition concedes the FAC does not allege proximate causation, another fatal omission. The opposition reveals something much worse than the FAC's failure to state valid claims against Mr. Reynolds. Stunningly, it confirms that only 3 of the Wayfarer parties Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, Wayfair have articulated any legal claim against Mr. Reynolds at all. As detailed further below, the sole alleged defamatory statements concern only Mr. Baldoni. The other only alleged conduct as to extortion was directed at most Wayfair studios, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath. And the only parties even arguably in contractual relationship with WME were Wayfair and Baldoni. But disregarding that rule, obligations, every Wayfair party asserted each claim against Mr. Reynolds, meaning that every Wayfair party, other than Mr. Baldoni, brought a federal lawsuit alleging at least one cause of action that they know they had no legal basis to assert. None of Mr. Sarowitz, Miss Nathan, Miss Abel, It Ends With Us, Manage or Tag has a single cause of action against Mr. Reynolds that they even arguably possess. All those claims should be dismissed, and Mr. Reynolds should be awarded his attorney's fees and costs under New York law. Now, here's what he's trying to say at the end there, and we're going to get into an example that's sort of, he's trying to claim, well, my comment was to Justin, if we're going to hear that, and that doesn't affect everybody else. As if calling Justin an actual predator doesn't affect all of Wayfair is beyond me, because it does. But as I talked to Christopher Melcher, he agrees it's silly, but there very likely could be a request from the judge to just amend the amendment, the complaint, to include a more specific reason as to why. So the likelihood of anything happening is that there is a likelihood the judge will just ask the Wayfair parties to tighten up or clarify or more specifically mention why all of Wayfair is affected by Mr. Reynolds. That's likely what will happen, and they'll be able to probably come up with a reason or justify it and put it into writing as to why, and then we'll still continue on with these lawsuits. So while there may be an adjustment, which is very common, guys, it's very common to have that sort of adjust, and it's common, to be fair, to do these motions to dismiss. What really all this does is just fine tune and adjust it. It is an absolute waste of time in part of the way. And Reynolds aggressively trying to declare like all this is nonsense is just all bluff and smoke. But it's also just hard to read. It really makes me dislike him more and more, just how aggressively he's trying to paint this out. And I want to go through a couple examples, thanks to Kim, who also pulled this out. Some of it just makes no damn sense. The FAC fails to adequately identify defamatory statements. Parties confirm that FAC identifies only 2 predator statements as their basis, while concluding these allegations are sufficiently specific to identify the statements. They exclusively rely on the supplements allegations embodied in their Exhibit A in support of this proposition, but Exhibit A is not part of the FAC, and whether struck or not cannot be properly considered in assessing the sufficiency of the Wayfair party's defamation claims. The fact does not sufficiently identify what Reynolds said, when he said it, or whom he said it to, which is fatal to that claim. So he's trying to do this weird, stupid semantics thing, when in reality, it was there, dude. Did you even read the complaint? It's right here. Reynolds approached Baldoni's agency, namely Executive WME, and expressed his deep disdain for Baldoni, suggesting his agency was working with an actual predator. At a later date, demanded that the agency drop. Anyway, it's all there, Ryan. So they did. It's actually in the complaint, and it's like Ryan didn't even read it. Well, it's not there, therefore it's not. It's like, oh my God, really? If I were the judge, I would just be so annoyed with all this repetitive nonsense. Like, pay attention, dude. Be more on top of it. I know it's a lot of stuff. But again, here's where he tries to say, well, he's not talking, all these Wayfair people, this idea that by calling out Justin, the face and head, clear creative head of Wayfair doesn't affect all of these people, and that Ryan wasn't instrumental in being part of that campaign along with Blake to destroy Justin's character and therefore Wayfair is just mind-boggling to me, dude. Clearly it's all connected, and clearly it's going to be connected. On top of that, he tries to claim that the FAC didn't allege actual malice to blah, blah, blah. He goes in, but it's like, dude, a quick search will remind you right here. It says it, upon information and belief, the lively parties was aware that the others planned to commit the tort of extortion against the Wayfair parties, and that each of the lively parties agreed with one another and intended that wrongful acts pleaded herein committed. Accordingly, each of the lively parties is equal liability to the Wayfair parties for the tort of extortion by reason of their conspiracy to commit the tort. It's all there, dude. So all this weird stuff, he just, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I honestly don't understand what Blake and Ryan are still doing at this point. They're out there trying to save face, but they're only wasting money and resources and drowning it even further. And maybe that's part of it. They just hope to get them enough annoyed that maybe even Justin and team eventually just kind of fine. I want this done. That might happen. The more I've learned about sort of their faith, the Baha'i faith, they don't want to gossip or talk or do. They don't want to be negative. It's like it goes against their whole belief structure. So there is a version of this, whether you like it or not. They all might finally agree to just be like, okay, we're done. Can we finally agree to? I would not be surprised if it happens, guys, at a certain point in the next coming months. We'll see. But in the meanwhile, depositions are happening, and likely more and more is going to come out that's going to make Ryan and Blake look incredibly stupid. So this forlorn look that she allegedly has, which she doesn't even have, as she's struggling out in her horse farms with her daughter's equestrian events, which, you know, we all have that, right? My God. It's only going to get worse, dude. It's not a threat, it's the reality. I'm shocked they aren't figuring out a way to stop this. What do you think? Are you surprised Ryan's still out there yapping it up, trying to defensively throw this out? Let me know what your thoughts in the comments. But before you go there, hit the subscribe, hit that bell for all alerts, and smash that like button. Do you think Ryan has even read these full of complaints, or is he just hearing what he hears and then arguing and doing what he's doing? I want to hear your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.